Speaking of which, I don't know if you heard the news about Steve White.
I did.
I saw it this morning. Devastating. What a good guy.
Good guy, good teammate. I mean, way too young, 48.
Yeah.
And I look, I'm gonna be 47. I'm thinking like, when you're young, you look at 40s, you're like, oh man, that's old. And now we're here, we're like, man, it goes by quick. But that was the locker room that we had. That was by far the best locker room I ever played in because it was good guys. Like I said, Dungy brought in guys that were great guys off the field that could play on the field. But the biggest thing was that, and Steve was an awesome guy, man. Sad news when I heard that this morning. It was devastating.
And then, the next year in '02, John brought even, not better, but brought in those types of guys as well. He brought in Pittman and Keenan and that locker room, and I talk about it often, and I don't know if it's because of cell phones or social media, or it's just different now. I mean, you're in the locker room now that you're a media and a commentator.
I think this thing, man, the phone.
Yeah.
I think the phone, because we used to talk to each other. You see a picture of any sport, not just football, of the locker room after a game. Everybody's tweeting their score, tweeting their plays or what they did. Where before we're all celebrating together or sad together, but we were together and talking and communicating. I think that's what's lost right now in the locker room, and also, just the way society is now. It's more maybe sensitive, where the jokes in the locker room, nobody took it personal. And you could joke about anything.
We talked about this.
You can joke about anything. And trust me, being a kicker, man, we were like the end. But most jokes.
Sure.
And we never. If you took it personal, then they piled on more.
Yeah.
And, so you got to make sure you had thick skin. So I think a combination of those things. But I still think being on a team and being in a locker room, it's an experience that you can never duplicate. Like after I retired, I never duplicated that excitement, that team bonding anywhere, any business, any job. Just that those 53 guys for one common goal to win a championship. I've never experienced anything like that.
I've been in the locker room, how many, 30 years, 35 years. And that span, you're right. I mean, all of the guys were cool, down to earth, could joke, but didn't go over the line. You know what I'm saying? It was cool. Caleb and I talk about it all the time, about trash talking and going over the line, and is there a line? I'm curious what your opinion is.
When we played, I don't know if there was a line. I think the only time I saw it get cross the line is when we went to Philadelphia and they talked about Joe Jeravich's son that had passed away. That's going over the line.
That's when Nate Webster and Dwight Smith were going in the stands. You do know that, right?
Yes.
They were going in the stands.
Right, I heard about that.
And those two guys would do it.
Oh, for sure. But that's going over the line when you have that, because we're playing a game. It's a sport. And I understand as a fan you want to take the other team out of the game. But that's the only time I really seen it go over the line. They could talk about your mom, your family, but it's talk. We know as players that you've got to do whatever it takes to get me off my game, and I'm going to say and do whatever I can to get you off your game. But once the game's over, we can shake hands and be fine. But the players that take it, and I don't think a lot of athletes do take it.
No, they don't.
Because they realize what it is.
Yeah.
The fans don't understand that,
Right.
or like when I coach youth soccer, the thing with me, like what happened was I went from playing in the NFL to coaching right away. And I think that was probably not good because I was bringing that same intensity to coaching 8-year-old kids. 8-year-old kids. So these people thought I was crazy, but I was like, I don't know any better. Right. So I've learned through the years. I mean, I've been doing it 15 years now, so I've learned that it's not as important as an NFL game,
Yeah, sure.
8-year-old soccer. But they don't know how to separate it. So if I said something to another coach, they'd hate me for the rest of their life. Where they could say whatever. I'm going to say, if you say something to me, my wife's like, she's been trying for 15 years to quiet me down. It's like, look, don't respond.
Yeah.
Just it'll make them more mad. But it's just that natural instinct to respond. But I've learned to not respond now. But if you say anything to me during the game, I'm never going to take it personal. When the game's over, we can go have a drink, go eat, whatever. We're fine. But some of these coaches don't because they never played at a high level, so they think every attack is personal.
So speaking of like the mentality, have you seen the movie Kicking and Screaming?
No.
With
Yes.
Will Ferrell and
yeah.
Mike Ditka is like the head coach of a youth soccer, and like they are so over the top.
Yeah, that was kind of me a few years ago. Yeah. I'm embarrassed to say that.
Have
but
you ever made a mega person? Have you ever made like the mega person, like two kids on top of each other?
No, I didn't do that yet. No,
But
not
there's
yet.
really nothing wrong with that. My dad was like that. Now, granted, this was back in the day and whatever,
Right.
but, sometimes we were scared to go home after a game if we made an error.
Right.
That's
You know,
intense.
It is intense, but I learned to live with it, and it is what it is.
2 off seasons ago, I coached offensive line at Sierra Canyon in Los Angeles.
He's so
And-
mellow,
I
Ken.
know. Talk.
Sorry, so 2 off seasons ago, I coached
Not gonna coach
offensive line
anymore.
at Sierra Canyon, and that was my thing. I brought that intensity, like, let's go, it was like I
Right.
talked
You don't
to
know
him
any
like
better.
my coach, and then I had to realize some kids responded to that, other kids would kind of go into a hole. So I had to kind of learn, like, okay, I can't talk to him like this because he doesn't
Right.
respond well to that. I have to put my arm around him, tell him I trust him, whatever it is. And so I had to kind of understand and grow because my coach in college, I don't know if you know who this is, Adrian Clem.
No.
Okay, he played for the Patriots for a while. He started coaching fresh out of college.
Right.
And that's how he was. But I take that kind of coaching well, But just like as you mature, and because I want to get into coaching, it's just kind of understanding, hey, like, you can't, everybody doesn't respond to this. Like,
Right.
you have to find the what button to push on the right people. And so, yeah, it's a switch up for sure.
The one thing that's worked for me is I create a relationship with my player where they know anything I do is to push them to be better.
It's not
Yeah.
personal.
Because a lot of times these coaches start screaming right off the bat or yelling, and you're like, and the kids look at you or the players look at you like, man, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
But now if you create that relationship, basically like a father-son relationship, you're doing it for their own good, so
Yeah.
you can push them. And you're right. There's some kids that you push hard and they'll be fine, and others get in that hole and quit. Our job as a coach is to realize which player you can push harder. But at the end of the day, I'm going to push all of them because it's not fair just because you're a little softy or not as that you get away with stuff.
Yep.
At the end of the day, the one thing I learned from Coach Dungy, discipline and accountability. If you have discipline and accountability, then I always tell them, like Messi, Ronaldo, we talked about earlier, those guys make mistakes.
Yeah.
And they're the best in the world. So I can't expect my kids that are, 7, 8, or now U19 to not make mistakes.
Yeah.
But if you're making them going hard and if you give me 110%, I'll never be mad.
Yeah.
And we can lose a game and I won't be mad. But now if we're lazy and don't work hard, then that's going to make me more upset than losing the game.
Yeah.
So
But does that, whether you're coaching or when you're going to sign a player, do you look at that kind of stuff? Like you don't want to sign a player that may not be able to handle criticism or
Oh,
follow
absolutely.
directions or stuff?
at this level especially, I mean, you're going to have the media.
Yeah.
Now if you can't handle the media,
It's bad news.
right, so you're gonna have a microphone or somebody talking to you after every game, so you have to be able to handle that. In the youth, you try to, I don't really look at that depending on the level that I'm coaching. When they're 8 or 9, then you don't look at that, and then you try to guide the kid to either be tougher or understand sports. If you want to stay in sports, you've got to have thick skin. And now, if it's at a lower level, then you take any kid, as long as they can play. Now at the higher level, I look at that because, I don't want to have a player that I can't coach. That's not coachable because he's doesn't respond well to my type of coaching. And for the most part, the parents like that. They call it old school, which I hate that word, old school. It should be the way coaching is,
Yeah.
not old school.
It's the right way to do it.
You've got to push kids to be the best and work. The thing is, if I'm pushing you to work hard, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
If you're playing a sport, you've got to work hard. The thing is, these kids now are a little lazier and a little bit more entitled, and that bothers me when the kid feels entitled. And I've had some kids that because their mom's the team manager or their mom's part of the club that they think they're automatically on the team. I had to tell a kid the other day. I said, look, if we had a game tomorrow, you're not starting. I don't care if your mom's the team manager, pays the bills, whatever. So you better
Sure.
fix this or that.
Not many people will do that. Not many people say
Right.
that. My brother once coached a major team, above Little League. They were like 14, 15, 16. His star player's dad played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, he was the best player in the league, and my brother kicked him off the team. He goes, go play somewhere else. You come late, you feel you're entitled. We don't need that. But not everybody can do that, like you say that you're doing.
See, with my team, we've beaten teams that we had no business beating because these kids believed and they work hard. We outworked the better team because they thought they walked in already knowing they were better, and these kids just refused to lose. And that's one of the mentalities. You learn that from your coaches, like
Yep.
Dungy. I mean, Dungy was like incredible at that. Gruden was incredible at making us believe. I always say Gruden's Saturday night speeches were worthless because we're ready to go play now, and I got to go to bed. You have to go to bed, and he's pumping you up. You're ready to run through a wall. So a coach can get that out of players, and you can win games with less talent.
I almost think that they should put more of that in the corporate world because I see a lot of people now, my friends who are in corporate America, and they talk about certain things like, oh, this happened today, and he's not shut down. Let's say that to me. I'm just like, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Like,
Right.
you didn't do your work. Did you see that when you went into corporate America and doing like being in different meetings, people kind of not being able to take criticism, not being able to like, hey, like this is our standard, this is what we need to do. And if you don't accomplish it, it's a problem.
Oh.
But now everybody wants to be coddled and like, no, you can't say anything to me. And like, I have this fight with my girl sometimes. Like, he's hard on you because he sees something in you. He wants you to get better. Don't be mad at him. Like, just work, and just get better.
I feel every day working on this radio.
I try to get you to feel better, but you're
He's always
worthless.
on me, like, and now I'm elevated to where I am now.
He's making you better, right?
I don't know. All right, he'll never get better. All right, so when we come back, I want to talk to you about your Buccaneer broadcasting. You've got another side gig. I think you got like 9 or 10 things you're doing on the side.
Little
So
bit.
we're going to talk about all that when we return. This is Knockout Radio, brought to you by 8 Man Strong and Staff Sound.